And joining me now for analysis, I would like to welcome Laura Blumenfeld, a Middle East analyst and senior fellow at the Philip Merrill Center for Strategic Studies at Johns Hopkins School for Advanced International Studies. So good to see you and talk about this plan, which seems to be light on details as a feature, an intentional feature. Usually when you were doing a kind of peace plan, there would be much more detail in terms of timeframes, conditions for release. And Hamas has responded to parts of it, but not all. How difficult is that going to make negotiations going forward?
Well, I think what we're looking at really is an end game rather than a blame game. That's the good news. And as you're saying, the devil is in the details, which haven't been sorted out. I think what we watched today and what we can watch going forward is this kind of, yay or nay, which is what Donald Trump is basically stipulating. And you're seeing 50 shades of yay, where everybody's kind of saying, Hamas said today, yes, but, and Israel responded, yes, and. So there's going to be some haggling. But if we can get to that phase one, look, it's a 20-point plan. If they're both ready to implement point one, which is the key point, really, it's the release of the hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. It will be a cessation of hostilities. You have to halt the fighting in order to get the hostages out. And the good news about that is that means you can get aid in to those Palestinians living in the territory who are under desperate conditions.
And Israel now saying it is ready to move ahead with that first phase of the peace plan. How optimistic are you that we will get there?
Now, I am optimistic that we'll get there. It's fascinating that, tonight, it's the middle of the night, it's Shabbat, it's the Jewish Sabbath, but the Prime Minister's office was eager to rush out the statement saying we welcome the plan. That means that his right-wing coalition partners, who are Sabbath observers, are basically sleeping through this news. The most important thing for Netanyahu from the very beginning of this war is to create at least the illusion, if not the reality, of no daylight between Israel and the United States. More than ever, Israel is, reliant on America for diplomatic cover and arms, as always. So while I think President Trump's announcement that Hamas is ready for lasting peace must have come as a surprise to Prime Minister Netanyahu, what he's trying to do now is say in his statement, he said, we will continue in full cooperation with the United States to move forward on this deal. Hamas and Israel are almost competing right now to show who is going to be the more cooperative. And why? It's because Qatar, I imagine, is completely exasperated with their client, Hamas, and President Trump is becoming more and more impatient with Israel.
And so do you think that Trump's strategy here, having set a deadline for Hamas to respond, is one that should be given some credit for having gotten both sides, eager to be seen as the more cooperative one?
Yeah, let's give President Trump some credit. He's showing that he has leverage and he's willing to use it, but he earned that leverage. It wasn't just through bloviating and blustering. He earned it actually in the war against Iran, where he was willing to show that he would use force, real force, rather than, the sort of force of his big lungs in striking against Iran. I think that earned him some respect in the region. This is the second time he's called Israel off, by the way. It's the first time was at the end of the war with Iran, and he told Israel, turn your jets around, and they did. And tonight, as Axios reported, Israel is halting offensive operations. So he's both earned the respect of the region and also the attention of Netanyahu, which President Biden never could get. I mean, the gravity of power, the gravity is shifting in the Middle East. President Biden had more of a values-based kind of foreign policy. Trump has a value-based foreign policy, which means he's tilting a little bit away from Israel and that kind of values alliance that Biden had with Israel and toward the Gulf and toward this sort of value, which means all the dollars and cents. You notice that when Trump came out to thank people this evening, he talked about his partners in the Gulf. It was the Arab and Islamic states who are bringing this peace over the finish line.
Now, that economic view of the world is so fascinating. You've mentioned Netanyahu and how this works for him within his governing coalition. How difficult will it be for him to bring his partners on board with what's happening next?
Well, the good news is Yair Lapid, who's leading the opposition, has already come out publicly and said, I support this plan and I will back you up. I will join your government. It won't fall. I will join the coalition so you can have peace and remain prime minister, which a lot of people have accused Netanyahu, for prolonging the war. Whether you agree with that or not, whether it's for political reasons, Lapid is now saying, I will be your safety net. I'm here to catch you.
Thank you so much for joining us today with your insights. We've been speaking with Laura Blumenfeld. Very much appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.